The only the only thing that you have to decide, I have to decide, we have to decide is how to become real to ourselves. What does that look like for you to become real to yourself? And for me, I have to inhabit this yogic form on a complete level, not just as a intellectual image, which I'm really good at, but as a biological, psychological image that needs to be continually projected and modified out of the now consciousness. That form. If you're going to become something, and that something is yourself, that's all that we are becoming here is ourselves. I mean, that would be a perspective intelligence to look at, right? You should. That's that self-examination that's important to grasp. You can get to that point where you can examine the part that's asking the question, the part that's motivating you to even think this is interesting, a way of self-inquiry that deep to examine the part of yourself that yearns for that. And then ways of looking at that. Neurological. Obviously these are, chemical related in your own neurotransmitter driven state of awareness here. Finding ways of talking to yourself, using forms of consciousness. You can use science to some degree. You can use music. You can use waveform, quantum aspects, religious, whatever forms that you want to incorporate into your overall visage. And I think that's the thing to remember here. You can only you be consistent in your expression. You don't have to trade off, I don't think. You just have to find out what image of reality that you can bring into focus as yourself. And that's how you become real. You begin with your breath. You start to understand and have a relationship with everything and every part of your being, because there's no other way not to, because your attention requires almost that level of detail now, just to understand what that person, thing, place, what level of empathy and approach could be in. This kind of happens instantaneously. This is like I'm thinking this way all the time, but I'm trying to analyze the way I greet a person or a situation. All of that stuff goes through it, kind of, like, okay, that. And I take it as I trust myself enough to know that's exactly what happened on some kind of subconscious, level. I trust my own instincts more and more this way. Well, it's because I trust myself. I found the idea of being authentic to myself, just being able to look at myself and examine every part of it, and just open. This is it. And then say, okay, if this is it, if this is really what's going on, in real time, and what's the best way to express that? And for me, it's a level of, it has to be devotion. There has to be a certain amount of real heartfelt love here. It's not just nothing. I'm not an intellectual. I don't care about. I mean, it's nice. Intellectual love is great, but I want to feel the real thing, guys. I want to feel that heart-wrenching love, that just opens you up to that. So I'm open to, that's the level of experience that I wish, it needs to be psychological, biological. That's the level of experience that I think, that goes back to this point of memory we were talking about earlier. This is what you can remember. When something is happening, birth, death, that kind of thing, try to remember the smell, the texture, the feeling, the subtle nuanced quality of the expressions. Try to remember some of that. And if nothing else, if a memory, it will serve you to really examine the part of you that allows this kind of examination to actually happen. And the balance in your own psychological, biological matrix that's required to, again, to have this observation point is essential. And this is what I remind you. Structurally, you have to have the yoga together, you have to have the breathing together, you have to have the psychological image of yourself relatively clear in practical reality of your life. Okay? Well, it gives you something to do.